morning, everybody. This is Mrs. Stiles, and I'm here to help you with lesson 11 today. Miss Ballard is out sick, and we sure hope she gets better soon. But let's jump in to lesson 11 problem set. Okay, so you'll need your blue Learn books out and look for lesson 11. And today we're going to be working on multiplying decimals. The past 2 days we've added and subtracted, realizing you can only add and subtract things that are alike. Okay, and today we are going to look at multiplying, and this first part says to solve by drawing discs on a place value chart. Write an equation and express the product in standard form. Okay, so let's just jump in and get started. This says 3 copies of 2/10. 3 copies of 2/10. So that means if I have a place value chart, and here's my 10ths place, and it says 3 copies of 2/10. Well, here's 2/10. So if I have 3 copies of that, it would look like this. 2/10, 2/10, 2/10. So notice the equation would be 3 times 2/10. Well, you can see that 3 times 2/10 would be 6/10. We can just do that, orally with unit form. So you can see we have 6 in the 10ths place, 6/10. Okay, if I have 5 groups of 200ths, let's look at what that would look like. Here's the 10ths place. Here's the 100ths place. If I have 5 groups of 200ths, well, here's 200ths. If I have 5 groups of that, there's a second group, a third group, a fourth group, a fifth group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. Well, 5 times 2 is 10. Okay, remember, if I have 10 of a unit, I can bundle it and bring one over to the place to the left. So 10 hundredths is equal to 1/10. Notice what that would look like with numbers. 5 groups of 200ths would be 10 hundredths. Well, how do I write 10 hundredths? I'd have to write a 10 so it ends in the hundredths place. Well, look, another way to say 10 hundredths is 1/10. So we can see that they're the same thing. Okay? The next one says 3 times 6/10. So again, I'm going to put my 10ths place, and I have to do 6/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but I have to do it 3 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, well, we can see that I have more than 10. So here, if I bundle, I have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here's a group of 10. Now let's see, do I have another group of 10? This is 6, 7, 8. I don't. Okay, so these I bundle and would bring over here. And I'd have 8 left over here. Okay, so I can see I have 1 in the 1's place and 8 left over here. If I wrote my equation, 3 times 6/10, think about that. 3 times 6/10 would be 18/10. How do I write 18/10? 18, but it has to have a 10ths place, so I'd need a decimal right here. There's 18/10, and notice it's the same thing I get when I put it on the place value chart and bundle. You get 1 and 8/10. Okay, 6 times 400ths. So again, I draw a place value chart. Here's my 10ths. Here's my hundredths. It says 6 times 400ths. Okay, so I put 400ths down, but it says do that 6 times. Oh, brother. There's 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Okay, 6 times 400ths. 6 times 400ths. Well, 6 times 400ths should be 24 hundredths. And I would write that like that, 24 hundredths. Well, let's see if that actually matches the place value chart once I bundle. Well, let's see, this is 8, 9, 10. Here's one to bundle. So I bring that over. And notice I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's another group I can bundle. So notice I have 2 in the tenths place and 4 left over here. So decimal 24, it's the same thing I got over here. Okay, for sake of time, let's just do these out loud in unit form because I'm getting a little tired of drawing dots. Okay, 5 times as much as 7 tenths. 5 times as much as 7 tenths. 5 times 7 tenths should be 35 tenths. So how do I write 35 tenths? 35, but it has to have a tenths place, which means I need a decimal right there. Okay, and the last one, 4 thousandths times 3. Okay, they switched those, didn't they? That you could think, if you like to, you can say, well, that's 3 times 4 thousandths. So it's set up like the others, doesn't matter. 3 times 4,000, and the way that it's written, 4 thousandths times 3, you know, you could have written it like this, or 3 times 4 thousandths should be 12 thousandths. Well, how do I write 12 thousandths? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. If I need a 12, it has to end in the thousandths place. It would look like that. Okay. So let's move on a little bit. Number 2 says to draw a model similar to the one pictured below for parts B, C, and D. Find the sum of the partial products to evaluate each expression. Okay, so what we're doing here is analyzing a multiplication problem, but now we're looking at the area model with partial products. Remember, partial products means this is a part of the overall product. The overall product is the answer. This is a part of it, this is a part of it, this is a part of it, and when I put them together, I get the final product or the final answer. Okay, so you've done area models before, multiplying whole numbers, so let's look at it with decimals for a minute. This is really just to enhance your understanding. You are eventually going to do a standard algorithm, which I probably will show you here today, but this is kind of trying to tie it all together. So if we take our number 3 and 12 hundredths, and I want to multiply it by 7, I'm going to break apart this 3 and 12 hundredths in kind of unit expanded form. Okay, I have 3 ones, I have 1/10, and I have 2 hundredths. I want to multiply that by 7. Well, I'm going to multiply each of those parts by 7. 7 times 3 ones would be 21 ones. And I don't know, I guess I can just write the standard form down here, which would be 21. I'm doing a video. 7 times 1/10 would be 7 tenths. 7 times 2 hundredths would be 14 hundredths. Notice they wrote that. These are the partial products. If I put them together, I have the final answer. Okay, so notice if I can add these horizontally because these aren't hard. Notice my whole numbers, I just have 21. Look in the tenths place, I have an 8. In the hundredths place, I have a 4. So that's my final answer. Okay. Okay, let's look at the next one. We have to do that one by ourselves. Okay, so we're going to draw an area model, just like they did up top. And I have 3 parts to this number, so I'm going to do 3 sections on my area model. This is 4 ones. I have 2 tenths. I have 5 hundredths. Okay, so it's kind of like expanded form of that number. Okay, well 6 times 4 ones would be 24 ones, or 24. So I'll write that down here. 6 times 2/10, I could write it like that, I suppose, would be 12/10. Well, 12/10 is 1.2. 6 times 5/100, I'm going to write it that way, would be 30/100. Okay, now I just put those together for my final answer. My whole numbers would be 25. And notice I have 3 plus 2 in the tenths place, which is 5. So there's my answer, final answer. All right, let's do another one. 3 copies of 4.65. Okay, so again, I'm going to multiply 3 times each of these parts. 3 times 4, 3 times 6, 3 times 5. Okay, that sounds kind of like the distributive property, huh? Okay, so this number I'm going to break apart into 4 ones and 6/10 and 5/100. Okay, so 3 times 4 ones would be 12 ones. 3 times 6/10 would be 18/10. 3 times 5/100 would be 15/100. Now, if I put those together, I would get my final answer. Okay, if I look at my whole numbers, I have a 12 and a 1. And also, if you have trouble adding this way, you can come and add them up here. 12 whole. This plays into what we did yesterday. 12 is my whole number. That. 1.8, 0.15. Okay, so notice you can do it this way if this helps you. Like that. And there's my answer. Now at this point, Miss Ballard might show you the standard algorithm. I'm not sure. And I hesitate to show you that today. I guess we're supposed to practice this. But I do want you to understand that what you do when you do the standard algorithm, I'm going to show you really quick in case anybody's a little bit lost, is when you set up a problem like this, notice you're doing the same thing. You're multiplying 3 times each one of these numbers, just like we did over here. 3 times 5 is 15, okay? Notice when I carry that 1 over, it's because I'm bundling, okay? 3 times 6 is 18, but I have to add this one, so it's 19. 3 times 4 is 12, but I add this one, it's 13. And notice my problem had hundreds, my answer should have hundreds, and notice it matches, okay? So we will eventually get to this, okay? So if you take this home and ask for help and your parents are like, why are you doing it this way? This is how you do it, okay? This is giving you understanding of what's going on, okay? We will eventually get to this, okay? So, talking too much, move on. Okay, 4 times as much as 20.075, 75 thousandths, okay? So you might, if you want to pause the video and try this one by yourself, you can, or you can just keep watching. I do want you to notice on this problem that there are zeros, okay? You do not have to put the zeros in the area model because the value will be 4 times 0, which is 0. So I have 2 tens, okay, but I can skip the zeros. I have 7 hundredths, and I have 5 thousandths. Okay, so notice I still only have 3 parts, even though it looked like I was going to have more. Okay, 4 times 2 tens. Remember, 2 tens is 20. 4 times 20 is 80. 4 times 7 hundredths would be 28 hundredths. Okay, so that would be that. 4 times 5 thousandths would be 20 thousandths. So 20 thousandths, oops, we would write like this. Okay, and then we just add them together for our final answer. And again, if you need to do that over here, that's fine. Okay, we see 80 as our whole number. And then you just have to add these two together. So, and if it's easier for you to see it like this, that's fine. There we go. So there's our answer. Okay, so let's look at these last 2 word problems before we'll let you try to work on your homework and see if you can do it, okay? Miles incorrectly gave the product 7 times 2 6/10 as 14 42 hundredths. Use a place value chart or an area model to help Miles understand his mistake. Okay, so I want you to think about that for a second. What mistake do you think he made? Okay, you have to think like a teacher for a second. What do you think he did? Take a look. It looks like to me, he said, well, 7 times 2 is 14, and 7 times 6 is 42. Okay, so what's wrong with that? You can use a place value chart or an area model, it said, to help you, okay? If you think about just the area model for a second, you have 2 1s and 6/10. Well, 7 times 2 1s is 14. Okay, that makes sense. But 7 times 6/10 is 42 tenths. How do you write 42 tenths? It's not this, that's 42 hundredths. 42 tenths is 4.2. Okay, so when you add those together, notice you had to bundle here. The 40 tenths became 4 whole. Okay, so when you bundled and added, you have extra whole numbers. So the answer is actually 18.2. Okay, does everybody get that? So he didn't use the right place value. 7 times 6/10 would be 42 tenths. So that's what happened there. Okay. The last one, let's take a look. It says, Mrs. Zamir wants to buy 8 protractors and some erasers for her classroom. She has $30. If protractors cost $2.65 each, how much will Mrs. Zamir have left to buy erasers? Okay, so she's got $30. Okay. She wants to buy 8 protractors and they cost this much each. So we want to know how much she has left over for the erasers. Okay, that sounds like to me kind of like part whole. If you think about a tape diagram, she's got $30. She wants to buy 2 things, right? She wants to buy protractors and erasers. Protractors, how much are they going to cost you? 8 of them times $2.65. And then what she has left over is for the erasers. So notice we have to figure out what she's going to spend on the protractors. So you have this part. How do you find the other part? If you know the whole, you'd subtract. Okay, so first we need to find this. 8 times $2.65. Let's practice just the standard algorithm over here. 8 times $2.65. 8 times 5 is 40. 6 times 8 is 48, plus 4 is 52. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 5 is 21. Notice this had hundredths in my problem. I have hundredths in my answer. $21.20 on the protractors. So to find what's left for the erasers, we have to subtract from $30. Now remember, you have to be very careful. 30 is a whole number, so I have to line it up with my whole number here. Kind of like what we learned yesterday. 0 minus 0, can do that. Cannot do 0 minus 2, so I come here. Nothing there to borrow, so I have to borrow from the 3, make it a 2, which makes this number a 10. But I have to borrow from that, so I'm going to make it a 9, make this a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 9 minus 1 is 8. So $8.80 is left to buy erasers. All right, hope this was helpful. Now you can move on to your homework. Good luck.